2.5k profit per day.
They think that's a lie. That's a complete lie, but I'm retired. I actually have the money here, so it literally paid me. So that was obviously £4,000. I feel like I've already reached the top. I've got the money, got the fitness, I've got the lifestyle. Oh, I'm stuck in the job. Dropshipping doesn't work. All the excuses. You can go work in McDonald's and flip burgers. I get people DM me, how much time do I need to spend doing dropshipping? Mate, I spend 15 minutes a day. You'd be surprised what makes money. They don't understand her.
I think you just dropped some serious game there.
The secret to getting rich is to...
Mackenzie Haldane, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I've been following you probably for about a month now, Mackenzie, on Insta, and you're crushing it, bro. But for those that don't know you, I just wanted to share a little bit about your journey and kind of how you got to where you are today. So, if I'm right, it all started at 16 years old, when on your 16th birthday, you registered for a free trial on Shopify, and you started your first jewellery dropshipping store at 16 years old. But you didn't know how to run ads. So rather than run ads, you were DMing followers of another jewellery brand and essentially getting a few sales that way. So basically doing like cold outbound for ecom. And then you decided dropshipping doesn't work. I guess you pivoted to what you'd consider to be the standard Western trajectory, got a job, went to uni, but that didn't last long either, because in your third year, against your parents' wishes, you dropped out, got back into dropshipping, having learned it on YouTube, launched another store, and fast forward to today, you've done 1.5 million in sales. You're doing, in recent months, 2.5k profit per day. And you've even launched your own dropshipping course now, teaching other people how to do it. So that was a quick summary and overview of your journey. I know there's going to have been a lot of ups and downs in between. So maybe you could start by just sharing with us what it was that encouraged you to get into dropshipping at such a young age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head there with that whole journey. But in terms of getting started with dropshipping specifically, like, there was nothing really that was more for dropshipping or Amazon or any of the business models. Like, initially it was Amazon. There was someone I was watching on YouTube, I think his name was Tanner or something, who done Amazon, and he had like a Lamborghini, and I thought, right, this is how I'm going to make it. And so that was what first kind of intrigued my sort of entrepreneurial sort of urge. But with Amazon, like, you know, you need money. Like, you need your startup cost for your inventory. You need to pay for them to ship it out and all that type of thing. And so it was a natural sort of pivot to Shopify dropshipping, where the startup cost and the barrier to entry is relatively low. And so that's how I kind of came across dropshipping, and went down that rabbit hole. Learn from all the people on YouTube on how to do it. And like you say, I was 16 when I started. And I didn't really have a clue like what it was. I just seen you can make money from it.
Yeah.
And I didn't plan on, like you say, being in a position I'm in just now, like I say, making thousands per day in profit. It was just, can I make £30 per day in order to stop working my 9 to 5?
Yeah.
And to me, like, making one sale or two sale was a lot more realistic. And so that's how I got into dropshipping. But yeah, fast forward to when actually I started it. I didn't know how to run ads. I didn't know what an LLC was, a limited company. I didn't have a clue. I was quite young and had never been into that sort of world. And so my approach to getting sales was to just go on other people's accounts and message their followers. I'm selling this product. Would you like to buy it? And maybe message like 500 people. And I think I made like 3 or 4 sales from that.
Yeah.
And I just like remember the first ever Shopify sale. And it was such a buzz. To be fair, it's probably, I got a bigger buzz from that, from when I reached like 7 figures. To be fair, like, when I hit 7 figures, I didn't even realise I'd hit it, because you're that locked in, you don't even really notice it. It just becomes a number on a screen until you actually realise it, and you realise like you can actually spend this money. And so you're getting that first sale, but like, if you don't know how to run ads, it's unreliable. You're messaging people, one day you might make a sale, one day you might not. And so ultimately shut that store down after a month, said dropshipping doesn't work, and pivoted back into the traditional 9 to 5 and went down that route. But obviously fast forward to today, it's worked out in the end.
Yeah, I remember that first cha-ching as well. Like, it's a moment you'll never forget, I think. I don't even think I made money on my first sale. I'd spent more on ads than getting the sale. But it was just, I know what it's like, that first feeling.
100%. It's proof of concept. Like, this has legs. This can actually work.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, when you start any business, what it is like you should have like, it's like proof of concept, but you should have like a hypothesis. So it's like, if I'm doing this is what I expect to happen. And if it does happen, brilliant. You know, you can, in order to make more, you just scale up. You spend more money in ads, you post more content. However, if you have the hypothesis and the outcome is that it doesn't work, that's also fine, because you can make iterations. You're better to be aware of why you failed than to be ignorant of your success, because you can replicate it. And so if you don't know why you failed, or if you don't know why you succeeded, then you're not going to be able to like make it happen over and over, which is what you need to do in dropshipping or in any business. So it's important to learn from your sort of failures or whatever, and then you can make iterations depending on that, and then your new test until you find something that works. And once you have that, you make that your control, and you can keep iterating from that and try and make improvements.
I think you just dropped some serious game there. That's so true. I don't think it's ever a failure if you learn from it, right? And like you say, or make an iteration, understand where you went wrong, reapply it, and then do it right the next time. Or maybe not even the next time, but maybe the time after that. Like, it is just controlling the variables in business, taking it one step at a time.
100%. It's all about kind of controlling what you can control. Obviously, there's external factors that you can't control, but if you just focus on making them small improvements each day, that's what makes the big sort of changes. That's because it's a compound effect. It's like a penny doubled for a month is like 4 million. Like people don't understand. It's just making them small improvements, and I think you get better 1% per day for a whole year. It's 33%. Whereas most people say, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to make 6 figures. I'm never going to be able to make 7 figures." It's because that goal's so unachievable. It seems so far away. Whereas just focus on making your first sale, or even before that. Like, there's so many steps that go into that. It's like finding your product, and then it's creating your website. But even in creating your website, there's so many other steps. Like how do I make it look branded? How do I set up a web policy? Or even just simple stuff. But in the beginning, seems so daunting and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's all about making consistent improvements, and to the naked eye it seems like on a daily basis to you it'll feel like nothing's been done, but it's only when you look out or take a 30,000 feet view, you're like, I've came a long way.
100%. I always say that whenever I feel that way, you just got to zoom out, right? And even just think about what you've done in the past week, let alone the past month, and how much you've actually really probably grown, whether that be mentally in yourself or with regards to your business. Normally they coincide. I think as you grow mentally, so does your business. But that comes from the wins and the losses and understanding what the variables are. But you are right. I think especially e-com, there's so many variables, like so many, especially if you're launching your first store with like sourcing the product, if we're talking specifically for dropshipping, building the store, even to the little details like getting a logo designed or doing it yourself, uploading the products, getting everything ready, launching the ads, setting up some email marketing flows, just all of these things, contacting supplier, like there's a lot involved in it. And to get started at 16 and even have your first initial test then and realize, okay, this didn't work, but there was a lot that you didn't know, and it probably just came down to where you were at mentally at that age. I don't think many 16-year-olds can get involved in sourcing products, building a store, and then launching ads as well. So what you did with the cold DMs was actually quite using your initiative, I'd say, actually, and the conversion rate's not too bad. I mean, if you DM 500 people to get 4 or 5 conversions, you're almost at 1%. So it's not a bad starting point. But that was when you were 16. I'd imagine a lot changed in, what would it have been when you actually got back into dropshipping again then? Will you be about age 20 or 21?
No, I'm just 22 just now. So
22.
Yeah, 16 was when I started it. And I think, like I said, I'd done it for a month. Dropshipping doesn't work. Obviously, you get your, after your free trial, you get your hit with your £20 a month bill. And that was a lot of money to me back then, because I was only earning £150 a week. And I was also paying dig money to my mum and dad, so I literally had nothing. And so quit dropshipping, went down the traditional 9 to 5, doing joinery, basically just glorified labouring, and I hated it, literally. I just knew deep down it wasn't for me. And to be honest, I always felt like I was better than everyone. Not in a bad way, but I just knew that this wasn't for me. I would look around at people older than me on the site, and they'd have bad backs, bad knees, they'd look terrible, they'd be eating chippies at lunch, and I knew like that wasn't for me. That's the kind of UK culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in Scotland anyway. But yeah, so I'd done that. Fast forward out of that, I think when I was 17 when I left that, it was a lot of working away, 14-hour days, all that type of thing for like 3 weeks in a row. So it was full on. And to be fair, looking back, that was probably a blessing that it was so bad, because it's kind of paradoxical. Like, if you're in a situation and it's okay, it's comfortable, you earn X amount, £500 a week, you get to go on a couple of holidays a year, then you get complacent and you aren't in enough pain to make that change. And that's where I was in so much pain, not physically, but internally, like in my soul. Like, I felt suffocated in the 9 to 5, as probably most entrepreneurs do. And so I was in that much pain. I was like, I need to make a change. It wasn't I want to do it, I just had to. So left that job, and let's say went into something that's completely different with software engineering. Let's say went to university for that, kind of got fast tracked into that. through a kind of unconventional route. Basically, when I went to the interview and stuff, there was multiple people with PhDs and all that, and I was just sat there like didn't have a clue, couldn't tell you what PhD stood for. And then I went to like one of the kind of physical tests, which was like a coding exercise. And me being me, like quite switched on and like a hustler, I like basically positioned myself to sit directly across from him in the exam and just copied all his answers. And then within like a day or so after I got the phone call, "Oh, Mackenzie, you've been accepted. You got such good results." And yeah, that was how I got into that. But to be fair, that was good, and it taught me quite a lot of things in terms of like how to conduct yourself in like a normal manner. I was usually before that just kicking about, didn't know how to write an email, didn't know how to conduct myself, how to even run a meetings. And I learned lots from that, even stuff in the business world with like team stand-ups, daily meetings, sprints, and that stuff that I use now, even like Trello boards, just simple stuff that at the time I didn't think was applicable, but now it is. And so that was good, even just like keyboard shortcuts and thing.
Yeah.
So did that. Done that for about 2 years. Was on my third year of university that's when the dropshipping picked up. So whilst I was kind of doing this kind of 9 to 5, at nights I was still on YouTube, still learning, because this was like during lockdown period of how to do dropshipping. And that's when I got some initial success. I was testing a diffuser, probably seen it on TikTok. It was like this wee LED diffuser, and me and my mates were on a night out, going for some food before it, and I was saying to them like, "Look, I'm testing this product," and they were all obviously slagging it, slaughtering it, saying, what are you doing? Is that even legal? All that kind of thing you get from people who don't understand. And then later on that night, I went up to the bar to buy a drink on Apple Pay, and that was when I got my first sale in that store in the Cha-Ching. I was obviously quite like drunk or whatever, and I was buzzing. I was like, "My God, that," because it was a proof of concept. If it works once, you can make it work 1,000 times. You just need to like do more. And so the next morning, I'd woke up, I think I'd made £575, and that's when I was earning crap money. So that was like my whole week's wage in like 12 hours doing nothing. And that's when I knew like this was what I was going to do. And so yeah, ended up done a bit more revenue than £500. I'd done 1,500 the next month, and then the month after that was 10k. So within the span of literally a month and a half, I'd scaled up to 10k a month. And that was all organic as well. So it was like 75% profit margin. So like just under 10k a month at 18, 19. Yeah, no, 18 I think. And then after that is when I like said to my mum, like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
And that's the same as like, if anyone's in a situation where they run a 9 to 5 or they're going down the traditional path that their mum and dad may want them to do, and they say to their mum like, "I don't want to do this," they'll probably tell you, "You're an idiot, you're stupid, you're throwing your life away." But that's because even though they do want the best for you, like their advice isn't what is best for you, unless you do want to emulate what they have. So if you do want to be a dinner lady, then obviously listen to them. However, if you've got bigger plans and you feel that you're deserving of more, then you need to sometimes take that risk and believe in yourself, and take that sort of path and go against the grain. And when I first said that, they were obviously like, "If you don't do this, you're getting chucked out, you're leaving the house," and that kind of thing. So that's when I was like, "Right, see you later, I'm away." And then you leave your house, you pack up your bags and all that kind of thing. So I did that, came back like 24 hours later. But nowadays they're obviously happy of it. To be fair, they still don't understand what dropshipping is or what I do. Because before I moved out to Dubai, I was obviously just in my mum's bedroom and stuff, and she'd come in, "Get a job, what you do?" Like, stop sitting about. But yeah, they didn't know I'd literally made like 5k or 6k that day. So yeah, they don't understand, or you probably know yourself, like most parents don't sort of understand this kind of path.
I think you touched on a few things there, and one of the things that we were saying earlier about when you did start dropshipping at 16, mentally you just weren't ready for that journey yet. Like you said, you went to university, maybe it wasn't the right vehicle, but you learned things there. Like I think you said things about sprints and other things like that, how to write emails, how to conduct yourself. So when you did come back to dropshipping the second time round, although the skills you'd learned weren't directly applicable to dropshipping, you were still able to utilize those to your advantage. So I think that just proves what we were saying about just because something didn't work the first time round, maybe it's that you just didn't have the knowledge available to make it work. Like you said, you didn't know how to run ads, but second time round you did. Yeah. But actually saying that, sorry, you said second time round you got to 10k organically. So how did you do that?
Yeah, so just to touch on that, firstly, like you say, at the time, even though that was my best wasn't good enough. And so like some people, obviously, I coach people now, they'll come to me and say, "I've done this, it didn't work." And I would say, "Right, okay, show me your ads or show me your content." And I'd be like, your best isn't good. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. You need to do what's required, because you're competing against like me, you, Nike, Adidas, all the big brands who run ads.
49% of people use Google to research and buy products. If your e-commerce business isn't using Google Ads in 2024, then you're missing out on a profitable sales channel. And for those of you that are running Google Ads, I guarantee that 99% of you could be generating a greater return on investment. At Profit Driven Marketing, we help e-commerce businesses just like yours scale with Google Ads, increasing revenue and maximizing ROI. Just like we did for our clients, where we achieved results like this, and this, and this within the last 12 months alone. If you want to see how you can scale your e-commerce business, we'll show you your full potential with a free audit and step-by-step 90-day scaling roadmap. See the video description now to learn more. All right, now back to the podcast.
But yeah, going back to how I scaled up to 10k a month fast, it was basically, I was posting content on TikTok, known as what's called TikTok Organic now, and it's quite popular now, but that was before it was cool, and I had like the kind of first mover's advantage, so I was on it before it was popular, and so I was selling a diffuser, and what I did is, like I say, it's all testing. Everything in life is a test, that's how obviously like everything is sort of stumbled upon. It's all R&D. It's like, what's that vaccine, or I think it's, there's some vaccine anyway that was stumbled upon, and that's how it was created. It was just like bacteria in a lab that formed this, it was penicillin, sorry. So that's how penicillin was formed. It was just like bacteria or mold growing on something else, and then boom, that's how we obviously have antibiotics. But it was all testing. So I tested different angles of selling a diffuser. So the first angle would be like, does your car stink? And then the second angle would be like, does your room stink? Then the third angle was, it was like, spray your favourite aftershave in your diffuser and make your like, it basically make your aftershaves like last longer, and that was the angle that worked. So posted free videos, and that one worked. And so what I then done was removed the ones that didn't work and just doubled down on the ones that did. So kept posting content of that, and every time I posted it, views, and then you're only one video away. That's like my kind of philosophy, is like you're only one away. Like one product, one an ad, one right person, one connection. You're just always one away from finding that success. And so one day, like one of my videos just hit the algorithm, and you could say I got lucky, but you create your own luck, is what I kind of think. Like, you make it so difficult to lose, it becomes easy to win. So if I'm posting 5 times a day or 10 times a day, and every video I'm getting better, it's only a matter of time, because until I hit that algorithm or I hit that sort of big day. And so one of my videos started flying, and that's it. I think I done 2k in a day sales, so like £1,500 profit. And that's when I knew, like, I just need to keep doing more than this. I like every week and hour I was just creating content, finding new angles and stuff. And so yeah, it was just kind of posting content every day, 5 times a day, modeling what worked. Like, I wasn't the one that pioneered that kind of strategy or that angle, like spraying aftershave. I seen it, someone else had done it, and someone else had ssuccess doing that. And so I thought, look, if they've had success, all I need to do is replicate their actions. And if you replicate what someone's done, it often leaves clues, and you'll have similar results. And so that's what I did, and that scaled up to, I think I maybe made around 50,000-60,000 by doing that, until I used that money to then learn Facebook ads and how advertising works. Because obviously you know yourself, and most people listening, like organic or like word of mouth, it works to a certain extent, but it's inconsistent. Some days you might make sales, some days you might not. And it's the days where you don't make sales is where you're like, oh, this doesn't work, I can't be bothered posting. So it's important to detach yourself from the outcome. And whether you get views, brilliant, but don't get high in your own supply. If you don't get views, then don't be disheartened. But I scaled that up to around 60k, and then ultimately I think that stored on 120k. But that was my first taste for it. Like, obviously if I say to people, I'm selling a diffuser, like, it's not cool, do you know what I mean? Rather than I've got a clothing brand on this and that next thing, but you know yourself, like, you'd be surprised what makes money, like in e-com especially.
100%. I like to try and touch on a few things there, especially when you said you're only one away. The image that I always have in my head, you've probably seen it, is it's like a cartoon of a guy in a mine with a pickaxe, and just behind that last little bit is the gem, diamonds, or the diamond, but he turns around, you know? And that always stays in the back of my mind. I always just think, if you know all of your inputs are correct, and you're doing, like you said, you're doing the best of your ability, it's only a matter of time. It may not be enough yet, but if you keep doing your best and keep controlling as many variables as you can, trying different things, eventually you're going to find what works, and then your best will be enough to get the diamond or to get the... So I always think that. There is another controversial thing that a friend of mine said on this podcast, though, that also sticks in my mind. I don't know if it directly applies to what we're saying, more so about the daily inputs. He said, the right entrepreneur in the wrong vehicle will never get ahead. And that also sticks with me as well, because I think all of these business models work, but sometimes someone can be so focused on the wrong vehicle for them and never be able to get it to work. But I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but I'm going to leave a little controversial note there. Maybe people can put in the comments what they believe. You also touched on the inconsistencies of organic. So 100%. And I think that's when it becomes beneficial to take what's worked well organically and put an advertising budget behind it. So is that what you did then to start scaling? Started with your top performers?
Mate, exactly 100% is what I did, because what's important is to understand the algorithms, how these platforms work. And if you can understand that, you can understand how to make money and how to utilize them. So if you understand that Facebook, TikTok, Google, all these platforms, their business model is the retention of attention for profit. So the longer you can keep someone's attention on the platform, the more ads they can serve them, and therefore the more money you'll make. So it's the same with organic content. The better your video is, the more engaging it is. If they comment, like, share it, the more engaged they are and the more likely they are to stay on the platform. So if you can create content like that and it does well organically, if you put money behind it, it's just fuel to the fire, because all an advertisement is an organic piece of content with money behind it. So if it works with no money, if you start forcing them impressions, it's probably got to do well. So that's exactly what I done. I took my best performing TikTok, downloaded it, I already had it on my camera, so uploaded it to Facebook ads. And then started, this was at a time where you kind of done interest and all that kind of thing, which is, it's more like sort of broad now, isn't it? With Facebook, because it's so advanced. But this is what I done, took my best ad, and that ad, literally as soon as I turned it on, it was just, I think I was maybe getting CPAs at like £8, and I was selling it for around £25, and it was costing me like £4. So I was making a lot, and there was a stage, I think I scaled up to around 36,000 a month, or something like that. With that product, and then just with that one ad. But ultimately, creatives die out and that kind of thing, as you know yourself.
And then what happened? How did you transition from that store? Or what did you mark as being the point of like, okay, this product's just not working anymore, maybe I need to transition and look for a new product?
Yeah, so looking back, I don't think it died out. I think it was me. And let's say you don't know what you don't know. Obviously there's unknowns, but it's the unknown unknowns are the ones that catch you out. So I didn't know that you had to keep refreshing your creative. I didn't know you had to test. I didn't know you had to, like, I was so new to it. All I did was have one video and I just spend more money every day. And if that campaign fizzled out, create a new campaign and the same thing. And so like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So that's what I was doing. But ultimately, like I say, I wasn't refreshing my creatives. I was complacent. I was in Tenerife and the product sort of stopped getting sales. And that was a kind of pattern for me anytime. So that was my first ever holiday. So I had never went on holiday until I was 18. Obviously now I travel multiple times a year. But when I was in Tenerife, the product died out. And that's when I knew, like, right now I need to go and replicate this success. Because I was getting kind of used to the kind of lifestyle and that kind of thing. And so that's when I pivoted and found a new product. And it's done the exact same thing. TikToks, I took my most viral TikTok, started running it as ads, but this time I had more understanding. I knew, like, you need to create lots of creatives, you need to test and all that kind of thing. And so the turning point was probably when I was on holiday, and gradually, it's not an instant decrease or an instant drop off, it's gradual. Maybe like a sale or two less a day, and that kept happening. And yeah, scaled up the new store, which is the store I'm currently running, and the one that's made, I think it's done £1.4 million just on that single store from more or less one product.
Yeah, amazing. So I think that's also really important to highlight is the fact that maybe the product hasn't died out, maybe just the inputs are wrong, or again, you're not testing enough or controlling the variables. We often say, like at our agency, you know, if anyone approaches us and want to work for us, we always say, like, ads aren't magic. Like, if you do not have a good product or a good business at its core, it's not going to help you, unfortunately. But so many people will approach us and be like, oh, I don't know, I can't get past X amount in revenue. And when we really look at it, it's like, well, yeah, because this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Like, us just putting essentially a magnifying glass on your business with ads, all it's going to do is make the problems you've got now bigger. Like, so solve them first, then maybe scale up. But I think a lot of people just think ads are going to just be this magic gateway to a ton of revenue, which is not the case.
Yeah, 100%. The way I always like to say is, like, a good product won't scale a Facebook ad account or whatever, but a good product or a good business is what scales a Facebook ad account. So if, like, you've got something that's good and you have high AOV and low cost of goods and good supply chain, you're able to put fuel in the fire and just run ads and get more traffic. However, if you're selling a product for a £5 and it costs you £2, you're not going to get a free £3 CPA unless you're me. But yes, like I say, most people think that ads is the key to success. But the more and more I learn about, like, obviously the better I become as an entrepreneur, the more I realise it is product. It's product first. because CPMs and all that are only going one way, which is up. And so if you're constantly selling a bad product, and to be fair, the product that I was selling, I'm not going to say it's a bad product, but the quality wasn't good. It would break and all that kind of thing. And so every day it would be 100 emails, the product's crap, this, that, next thing. And so I obviously outsourced that. You don't want to be the one responding to customer emails. You want to outsource that stuff. You don't want to get that in your energy, because that'll like stop your conviction, and you won't want to be like selling it as much, because we all have a moral compass. We don't want to sell stuff that's of bad quality and that kind of thing. So I improved the product, maybe got faster shipping, said to my supplier, look, we need to improve the packaging, all that kind of thing. And now it's improved, and so as a result of that, the sales increase. And like I say, you don't get customers to make sales, you make sales to get customers. So people are going to come back and buy again, and that's what's happening now. So I now have a decent return in customer rate, so that's more secure. And like I say, with Facebook ads only going one way, which is more expensive because more and more people are coming on the platforms, it's good to have that kind of product that's going to bring that word of mouth and referrals back.
So how do you identify a good product?
So a good product, I'd say when testing a product, my methodology is I'll look for stuff that's already worked. Like I say, I don't try and pioneer anything or try and come up with these angles or whatever. I just see what's working and how can I replicate that. And I always I would say that's what I do. I think it's like good artists like create their own, whereas great artists steal. And obviously, if you copy what everyone else does, you'll get what everyone else has. Yeah. Like, so you need to make slight improvements or slight tweaks. So one, I'll find what's already working, and two, I'll often check comment sections. Like if people are commenting, "Oh, I want this product, I need this," then that's a good indicator that this is people want this and it's got product market fit. So then I'll start selling it. And a good thing to do, like I say, I don't answer customer emails, but in the beginning stages, you should see what the common sort of theme is, or if it's, the shipping time's too long, and you keep seeing that, and then you know, right, that's the problem. Yeah. However, if you keep getting common sort of issues like, it keeps breaking after X amount of days or whatever, then you know that it's a product quality issue. And so I think in the beginning, you don't know, so you need to trial, but after you keep making improvements, if you stop getting as much hate or whatever, or much people complaining, then you know it's of decent quality. And I'd probably say if you see people sharing it on their stories, promoting, saying they're happy to get it, and that's the thing with ecom, like most stuff's coming from China, so it's long delivery times. And so if a customer waits a week to get a product and it's of terrible quality, they'll be fuming. However, if they wait a week and it's amazing, they forget all about it. Do you know what I mean? You're just happy that they've had it, to be fair. So I do think it's definitely more about the product, but you can get rich with good advertising. I think that's what I sort of realised. Like I was just, as soon as I found something that worked, I just kept replicating that, and that allowed me to scale up.
There was something I was going to touch on then when you mentioned, about essentially just removing all of the friction. Like that's really what you need to do at the start, is identify where the friction is, whether it's long lead time or poor quality, and then poor packaging, whatever it might be. Get the customer feedback and then start implementing that to improve. I think you said something really interesting earlier that I've not heard before. You said you're getting sales to acquire customers, not getting customers to acquire sales. Is that what you said? Yeah,
I said I was getting customers to make sales rather than making sales to get customers. So
exactly.
It's just like that. A sales obviously just that one-off, like money in, money out, direct response. Whereas obviously a customer is someone who's got to buy in over and over again. And just to kind of touch on that, like obviously I've got a kind of course, not really a course, but it's like more one-on-one coaching. And so I know myself, like I've been able to come from 0 to 7 figures in 2 years. And so I know that I've got complete conviction in what I can do. And so when I created the course and the videos and all the support, I made sure that was the best thing ever. Like, not the best thing ever, but I knew that it was to a very high quality. And I knew that if someone buys this, they're getting a return. And so in terms of having a good product, just as an example, I had someone yesterday who I started posting on TikTok. I was relatively unknown for quite a long period. I'd even made, I think, maybe just under 1 mil, and I had like 1,000 followers. Like obviously, the followers don't matter, but it's kind of a good kind of gauge or whatever. So started posting TikToks, scaled up quite quick on TikTok to like 100k followers in 2 months. Someone came across me on TikTok, messaged me on Instagram, look, I want to learn dropshipping, can you help me? Cool. So he bought my program a while ago. I think he's been making decent sales off it, kept in contact with him. But he was just needing that push because he was still in a 9 to 5. I'm stuck in the job, like all the excuses. But I knew, like, look, if you follow this will work. This will change your life. So he texted me literally like last week, can I come out and see you in Dubai for a one-on-one? And I said to him, look, sure, no problem. So he came out, paid me. I actually have the money here, so it literally paid me. So that was obviously £4,000, which is obviously a hell of a lot of money. So he paid me that. But the reason I was able to get paid that much amount of money is because I had a customer. He'd already consumed my first product, and now the second product was obviously me sitting down one-on-one with him. However, if he got the course and it was terrible, he would have ran. Like, do you know what I mean? He wouldn't have came back. And so that's what I definitely think. Like, if you make sales, you can send them through. You can get them through. Even now, like, if he gets more sales from that, that's only got to benefit me. Like, he'll tell his friends, he'll tell this, that, and the next thing. And so having a good product is probably the key cornerstone to getting customers. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
I think reputation in general, whether that be from a personal branding perspective or a product, because ultimately there's one thing that takes a very long time to build, which is a reputation, but it can go that quick if you make one wrong move, if you disappoint one particular person, if you put something out that isn't to the best of its, like the best that it can be, and you know in yourself that you've produced something that isn't to the best that is like of your actual standard, it's going to bring what your other people perceive you. I'm not getting my words out correctly here. It's going to change other people's perception of you based on the quality that you put out. So you need to make sure that what you are providing is high quality.
100%. I think Hormozy talks about it. Obviously, Hormozy is one of the best salesmen in the world. And this company brought him in to say, like, oh, our sales are down, our salesmen aren't closing as much. And obviously when they brought him in, they thought, oh, we've got to improve the script, give them like how to closing techniques or how to handle objections. And then the first thing Hormozy did when he came in is they said to one of the closers or one of the people, like, I think their company was like selling leads. And so he said to one of them, was like, how good's the lead quality? And the guy's like, oh, they're all right. And Hormozy was like, stop there, that's all I need to know. So basically the person didn't have conviction in what he was selling. And so what the whole point of that is, like, if you're selling something, if Hormozy said to him, how good are the leads? And he was like, oh, these leads are amazing. I'm getting my mum to quit her job to come and get all these leads. So if you had like so much conviction in the product, that'll sell. And so, yeah, I think definitely having the conviction in like what you're actually doing, because you don't need, let's say, old closing techniques or all that kind of thing. If you just have pure conviction in what you're selling, it comes across. And obviously the same with e-com, if you know that it can change people's lives or improve their lives, you're going to market it as much as possible. Why would you not?
It's so true. I've heard Hormozy say that as well, but I also bought a while ago Charlie Morgan's course. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he has a course on basically how to scale coaching or consulting businesses. So we did it for our agency however long ago, maybe like 18 months ago now. And there's a cold calling section in there, and there's a mindset section within cold calling. And I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, just remember that when you're calling these people, that you genuinely have the ability to help them. At which point where if they're not interested, it's almost their loss. Or if they're not going to pick up or they hang up, or then you just need to consider it to not negatively impact what you're doing, but just remind yourself that it's a shame because I genuinely could have helped that person. And it comes from having conviction in your abilities and what you can actually do for them. I think it's the same on sales calls. You never want to seem desperate. You always want to make sure you're the one that maintains the authority and almost not the urgency and the scarcity, but it's like what you're saying. I can change your life, or I can do X, Y, and Z to your business. Like, I have the ability to do it. I've done it on my own store. I've coached X amount of people who have also done it as well. The proof is in the pudding, and it almost sells itself. So I think if you just focus on the product, like what you're saying, whether it be an e-com product or a personal brand, and build something that based on feedback is the best possible version that it can be, may not be perfect, but you're working towards perfecting something based on the feedback that you're getting, you can't really go wrong.
100%. I think you touched on something that is really important. It's like, if you know you can help someone, it's massive. And that's probably my secret. I read a book, it's called Millionaire Fastlane, and it's basically around like the secret to getting rich is to help people. So you can either help people in two ways. So you help them through scale or through magnitude. So helping them was obviously, helping people is basically just solving problems, and your problem can be a service, i.e. helping them run ads, or it could be a product, i.e. for instance a dropshipping product, a backcracker that alleviates obviously physical pain, but it could be something else that eliminates our mental pain. So that's solving problems. And so if you want to help a lot of people, help them solve a lot of problems, and you can do it through scale or magnitude. So scale is obviously sell a £25 product 100,000 times and you'll make millions. Or it could be through magnitude, sell a high ticket thing for 10k and help a small amount of people, and you'll still make millions. So the more people you can help, either through a service or for a product, that's how you make money, because you trade value. Let's say I've been paid £4,000, and we touched on it obviously earlier off camera. Like, if you're going to obviously run ads for someone, you're saying, oh, how long you got to spend running ads? It's not about how long it's going to take. It's about what you're getting. So it's like if you ever have like a leak or your sink's blocked in your house, and you send a plumber and he comes one tap of the spanner, that's it fixed. And you're like, oh, why am I paying £500 for that? It's not because the 10 seconds it took him. It's all the 10 years it took him to learn how to do that. And so you get paid in direct proportion to the size of the problems you solve. So if you want to make a lot of money, solve big problems, or you can go work in McDonald's and flip burgers.
That's so true. It's so true. You need to be able to provide people with an outcome, which really is just sales 101. Really isn't. 101 is really just selling them on the outcome of the service that you provide or the product that you're providing. And like we're saying, we touched on earlier, like that is the most frustrating thing for me when you're on a sales call and you tell someone what you're going to charge them to provide them with all of this value or hit a certain revenue target, and you're projecting revenue, and they're like, yeah, but how many hours are you going to spend if that's what you're charging me? It's like, that is the most illogical thing you could possibly say when what I'm projecting here is revenue growth in line with your KPIs, and now you're trying to pick up on any little thing, which is, yeah, but are you going to spend 4 hours a month or 8 hours to get me to that goal? It doesn't matter. What we're focusing on is the goal and where we're going to get you. So time should be irrelevant. What you should really be focusing on is the outcome. If I'm able to solve this problem for you, is that not worth X, regardless of how much time it takes me?
Yeah.
How much time is it going to take you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
100%. That's, like you say, it is a logical thinking, but you need to understand that is the thinking of the majority of people. That's why they're in the position that they're in. And so, like you say, they always think, oh, how much time are you spending on me with this? It's not about the time, it's about the values. And until people realise that you need to detach your time from money, that's how you get rich.
Yeah.
I spend, that's quite a lot of questions I get. People DM me, how much time do I need to spend doing dropshipping? I'm like, mate, I spend 15 minutes a day. And if I say to someone, look, I spend 15 minutes a day and I make 60k a month, they think that's a lie. That's a complete lie. But it's true. Like, you think about it, if you're working 40 hours a week and you're earning £400, you already know that hard work isn't the key to success or how to get rich. You need to first of all detach your time from money and sell a product or sell a service, something that doesn't require you to be physically there. Obviously, I can be sat on my laptop 12 hours a day, but that's not going to make me any more sales. Instead, just like refreshing the Shopify dashboard. So yeah, detach your time from money, and a lot of people don't realise that, because if that was a key to kind of getting rich, everyone would be rich. They'd just be like 150 or 200 year olds. And so I think, especially if you want to get rich young, obviously young is relative, and obviously rich is relative, but if you want to have enough money to do what you want, when you want, where you want, you need to kind of get rich young, and you need to do that by detaching your time and money. Like, I'm obviously 22 years old and I'm retired, or what I would call retired. Like, I do what I love. And so it's like, what was that TV program, MTV Cribs? You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
So it's like, they'd always chap on the door, and the person who dancer is usually a celebrity, usually a rapper, an actor. It was never the person that works in 9 to 5. It was never the person that works just the standard route, because it's impossible. You'll never find someone with a big house and all the cars who's rich by going down a traditional path.
Yeah.
Because if you do what everyone else does, you'll have what everyone else has, which is nothing. So the fact that it's always rappers, actors, or all these kind of celebrities, it's because they've done something different. You need to go down the unconventional route if you want to have like the kind of things that, like the fancy cars, the houses, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that is obviously a very important point that you highlighted, like detach your time from the outcome.
You remember when we met for coffee about a week ago, I relayed that Tate quote to you where he says, everything, I'm at the point now where everything in my life is free, or something along those lines. Yep. And that for me took me a little while to understand that. And I think when we went back and forth on it, when I was explaining to you, he has truly leveraged his time so much, or even to the point where he's leveraging other people's time to make him money through info products, through other businesses, God knows however many things he's got going on, to the point now where he's probably got businesses that run without any input from him at all. So any money generated by those businesses are essentially free. He has so much money at this point that everything in the world is free, because he's not investing any time to earn money. So do you know what I mean? When you really start to think of it like that, what most people do, unfortunately, is trade their money for time. If you really think about it, they'll go to work, maybe get paid X amount a month. So when they're buying things, they're thinking, oh, this costs, like, really, if you think about it, this costs 4 hours of my time, this costs 8 hours of my time, at which point something seems expensive. When you're earning money with no input from yourself, it's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Because you're not trading your time.
Yeah, 100%. I was literally, that's, like you say, obviously everything's free. That's like obviously what Tate's kind of quote, but it's 100% true. And like you obviously touched on there, if me and you, but if I walked into Louis Vuitton and a homeless person walked into Louis Vuitton, and or maybe not a homeless person, just a standard 95 person, let's say, and they earn £1,500 a month, and we go to buy a duffel, and it's £1,500, they'll say, oh, that's a lot of money. and they think that's a lot of money because they've spent it's a month. Whereas if I make £3,000 a day, that's nothing. It's cheap. And so how can one thing, which is the same price, have two completely different perspectives? So it's all about like how hard you've worked for that money. And I'm at a stage now where obviously my rent in my apartment is £4,500 a month, and to most people that seems ridiculous, a complete waste of money. But if you make that in 2 days, it's cheap. It's all relative. So I definitely think it's, like you touched on there, perspective is massive. And let's say when I was in Mykonos, I was actually chatting to my girlfriend about this the other day. I was like in Mykonos, I think that was my month where I started scaling up. I think I maybe done like 70k revenue, around £24,000 profit, and I was buzzing. I thought I was the richest person. Mykonos is expensive, £25 for a cocktail and stuff, but I was chilling, like living it up and on top of the world. Whereas last month was what I would call not a bad, well, I thought it was a bad month, and in profit I just made just over 30,000, and I was thinking it's crazy how I've made more money but I feel worse. So it's all about perspective, and obviously we touched on off camera at the coffee, like you were saying, you feel like the money hasn't caught up to yourself, and I do think that is obviously a brilliant point because you're focused on inputs and that kind of thing. But I don't know where I was going with that. But in terms of like the inputs, I'll just go on that then. So like if you do control the inputs, so imagine like the Mercedes factory, right? So if Mercedes are trying to create a G-Wagon, if every time their inputs are, let's change the chassis, let's change the steering wheel, let's change the brake calipers, that process, so inputs, process, outputs, the output, if they change it every time, it's got to create a different car. So you're never able to replicate your kind of success. But I have no idea where I was going with that.
Yes, I'll add something to the top of that, because I always find like tweets or things people say always hit me at the right time. And something I screenshotted the other day was Luke Belmar, and he posted on Twitter, money is a lagging indicator of success. You might have all of the right daily inputs now, but it's just delayed gratification. It's not quite caught up with you yet. Maybe it's slightly different with dropshipping, or yes or no. I feel like dropshipping, once you have a product and you're getting those sales, you can quite quickly see where it's going. I think sometimes with a service, it maybe doesn't scale up just as quick, or at least maybe not in my particular instance, but that doesn't mean that the daily inputs are incorrect. It just means that they've not compounded and it's not turned into a monetary value yet. But if you understand that, there's another good quote from Charlie Morgan. I'm turning to you now with all these quotes, but you've dropped some good ones. I was going to ask where you get them all from. Charlie Morgan says, he asks a question. He's like, how do you scale? He's like, well, what is scale? It's an increase in volume. So if you're providing a good service, and you can provide a good service and you have complete conviction in what you do, but you're unable to get more clients, it's not that you have a problem with service delivery. Making more improvements to that isn't going to help. You just have a client acquisition issue, which means you just don't have enough inbound leads. You don't have enough leads coming in. So I got caught up with this on the agency, always focusing on service delivery, providing the best possible service we can. There's only so much you can keep improving, but that's not going to grow your business. You need to focus on the biggest levers for growth, which are increasing the volume of inbound leads. So you need to increase your outbound efforts, all the things that you're doing for inbound. So now I've pivoted entirely, purchased a course on how to personal brand on Twitter, doing things like the podcast, which started as a passion project. But if I really think about it, well, it is still helping.
Lead generation, 100%. Just to go back to that point you're talking about there. Yeah, I like to say there's two ways to catch butterflies. And so in this instance, that obviously analogy is to get leads. So your first way to catch butterflies is to go out, get a net, and go and capture them, capture one, capture two. Takes a lot of time. And so that's the same way, cold DMing or cold outreach. The second way to catch butterflies or to get inbound is to create a garden and have a garden that's so good, and butterflies will naturally come to it. And that's the same, like if you have such a good personal brand, or you have some pride, so much value, people are just got to come to work with you. And if you have a truly exceptional service or whatever you're offering, like if you create something, like you're going to have more like work than you can take on. And it's a way, like people at the top, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo or whoever it may be, or all these models, like they've got thousands of girls or tens of thousands of girls wanting to sleep with them or whatever, whereas there's people who can't even get a kiss or get a bird. But that's like, how can one person have so much and one person have so little? It's like, see, if you do get to the top, you have so much coming in, there's an overflow. So if you have like, it's like the people at the top always have too much, and like you say, the best way to kind of attract people is to stop trading your time from it and create something that's more leveraged. Like in all these podcast episodes or all your YouTube videos, whatever, they'll last forever and only compound. And so it's more high leverage. And it's something, obviously, you probably know yourself. It's called the Pareto principle, which is like the 80-20 rule. So it's like 80% or 20% of inputs create 80% of outputs. So obviously with dropshipping, just as an example, when people come to me and they're going through like the program, they'll be like, oh, I'm stuck on the logo, or I'm kind of going through the domain, I don't know what to call it. Like, that obviously matters to an extent, but it doesn't matter at all.
No.
So with the stuff that matters is your product good and can you run ads? That's basically in a nutshell what it is. Too many people focus on the small stuff like the policies, and it's just it's, you need to focus on the high leverage activities. And I think that's obviously Hormozy. Obviously, I keep going back to him. Like, he's probably someone I look up to in the sense of like a business sense, and he's all about leverage. And the more I kind of grew as an entrepreneur, I realized that like it's all about leveraging your time, and going back to that, you can buy other people's time and leverage theirs. So you can pay someone, don't know, £400 a week or £500 a week, and that buys back all of your time, which you can spend doing other stuff.
I wrote a note to myself, which I often do. Like, even sometimes I'll just like write in Notion or send myself a Slack message as like a reminder. And I was laying there in bed trying to sleep one night, and I just had a few things on my mind, and I wrote down like, if I feel like I don't have enough time to do the most important things, then I'm focusing on too many things that I shouldn't be focusing on. So, for example, like now I'm really focusing on the podcast, personal branding, anything I can do that's really going to generate more of a personal brand and bring inbound leads. Like auditing proposals and sales calls, also very important, because that's how I'm going to close people over the line. But anything other than that is not really important for me right now, because I know my business partner Joe is handling service delivery in the team, and everyone's got good results. My agency, Profit Driven Marketing, helps e-commerce businesses scale with Google Ads, increasing revenue and maximizing ROI. And no, you don't need to pay a penny for this. We only charge a percentage of the revenue generated by our campaigns, generating results first, which means you only pay us when you make money. If you want to grow your e-commerce business, see the video description for more details. All right, now back to the podcast. So for me to focus on anything else other than generating leads is pointless. It's not going to help me. And anything that kind of comes onto my plate that shouldn't be there, you now have to be very selfish and be like, that's just not important right now. That's not important. I need to focus on what I'm doing. There's another analogy Adam Power used. He was the one who told me a quote about the right entrepreneur in the wrong vehicle as well. He says, if you add more onto your plate without removing something else, it's like adding another 5 kg weight to your back. Like, you can only fit so much on your plate in a day. You only have so much energy that you can put out to create, to build. If you keep adding to your plate without removing something else, it's going to stack up, and then what you can output is diluted across too many different things, and you're going to get pulled away from what is the biggest levers for growth, and focusing on the important thing, the things that don't matter, like rebranding, changing my logo. All right, yeah, it's going to look nice if you have a good website, but if you've got no leads coming in, it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, always people say, oh, I don't have enough time. Like, everyone has enough time. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. What it is you have a lack of priorities. Like, you're prioritising the wrong thing. For instance, if people want to lose weight, I don't have enough time. You do. You're just spending your time at night watching Game of Thrones. Or, do you know what I mean? It's like when you should be going to the gym. So, yeah, it's definitely like you need to prioritise, like I said, the things that are the highest leverage. But I read a book before, I can't remember what it actually was. I think it was maybe Deep Work or whatever.
Yes.
But it was all about like priority. Like, it should just be that priority, not priorities, like plural. Because if, say for instance, you wake up in the morning, you have, most people have like a to-do list, but if they're all priority, then what one comes first? So, like, you should just have one thing that's a priority, because if they're all priorities, none of them are. Same way if I'm writing a paragraph and I want a certain bit to stand out, I'd capitalise a letter. However, if I capitalise the whole paragraph, none of it stands out. Do you know what I mean? So I do think it's important to have a set priority for that day or for that week or for that month. Let's say I'm quite seasonal in the sense that I'll have a period in my life where I'm like, I'm working, I'm locked in, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Don't want to call it monk mode, because that's the newest trend. But I've never been into the monk mode kind of thing. I've always just done my work and then I'd go out or whatever. But in terms of that, I do think since moving to Dubai, I've been here myself. I've obviously met up with yourself and just like literally 2 other people. So I'm quite locked in. I don't really have any distractions, and I've got a lot of work done, and that correlated to making tens of thousands or just up. Well, I think since moving here, I've done in March maybe just 60 grand across all my businesses.
Profit, right?
60 grand profit in March, yeah. And so, well, to be fair, January, February, March, so Q1, January I done 188,000, February I done 186,000 because it was a shorter month.
Revenue?
Revenue, yeah. Profit. January was like 60k, February was just over 50k, and let's say March, what I thought was a bad month, was 29,700. So like it's all perspective. But yeah, going back to that, like I do think it's important to have a priority in your life. Otherwise, let's say if you wake up like an accident, that's what your life will be. Most people like want to get to the top, but no one at the top gets there by accident. Obviously, people look at Tate and think he's like just sitting making these reels or whatever, like or whatever it is, but like he's extremely switched on. Like he's got there by no luck. He's had like a strategies, like the way he's like went about like growing everything. Even like he's got the emergency meeting studio. That's so he can every day jump on, say clips and get people to chop them up. So like when I see someone who's successful, I won't do what they say, I'll do what they do. Do you know what I mean? And kind of reverse engineer that. But I do think going back to that.
No, it's all interesting stuff. Talking of priorities, I again off the back of another Charlie Morgan video on YouTube.
He's very switched on, isn't he? Yeah, he's very
incredibly, Too much.
Too much. You hit the nail on the head. Obviously, I'm not going to say what, but like most people watching this, he makes a hell of a lot more money than me. Can guarantee it. Like hand on heart, he'll make more money than me. But if you speak to 99% of people watching this, they want to be like me, and probably because most people just want the money for the life they live. Most people want a millionaire not to be a millionaire, but for the life it can give them. And so I already live like a millionaire. And so I feel like with him, he works for the sake of working because he loves it. And from the content I've consumed of him, he wants to go on and just keep scaling up and conquer a billionaire, right? At the moment I don't, but like I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. And so I feel like even though he'll like, obviously money's an easy measure of success because it's a metric, you can quantify it. But most people would rather have my life. I feel even as, let's say, in terms of like, I'm quite well-rounded. I've got the money, I've got the fitness, I've got the lifestyle, I've got the girlfriend, I've give back, like everything. I feel I've already reached the top. Type thing, but yeah.
But you both have different target demographics. If you think about it, his appeal is B2B, whereas yours is dropshipping, which is internet money and direct-to-consumer sales for your dropshipping course. So the people that you're maybe trying to appeal to are different to him. He wants to appeal to business owners, whereas you want to appeal to people that want your lifestyle. So I'd say it's slightly different in that sense. Do you agree? Yeah,
100%. You're spot on. Obviously, like if you're, maybe, I don't know if anyone's watching this like for YouTube or whatever, I do like to wear like the designer or the flash watches and that. Whereas he and most like people who have like money, like proper money, they don't wear anything, just complete plain, like Zara t-shirt, Crocs, Casio watch, whatever. But let's say that's because I'm targeting a different demographic. I'm targeting obviously internet money, and to me, you need to look the part. And look the part isn't, let's say, just wearing designer clothes. If you look the part in B2B, it's just wearing plain clothes, smart tailored, whatever. If you want to look the part, if you're selling maybe a construction service, it's wearing like worky pants or like hoodies covered in paint. So like it's as important to look the part, because perception is reality. I could be completely broke and just buy one designer t-shirt and people think I've made it, and that's probably what I'd say is not a downfall of Dubai, but people can come to Dubai, economy flight, stay in the middle of nowhere, taxi to the Burj Khalifa, photo, taxi to Burj Al Arab, photo, and portray a lifestyle that don't live. But yes, I do think you're spot on with it.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say now. I was going to add something else onto the end of it.
Different demographic, maybe.
Yeah, different demographic. That's it. So he's obviously, that was it, sorry. Different outcomes as well. We touched on it earlier. He's solving a problem, which is for business owners to generate leads and essentially scale their businesses. Whereas the problem you're solving is more like escaping the 9-to-5, making money from location freedom and financial freedom, ultimately being the goal. So I guess the positioning is slightly different. If you were trying to sell your info product and like you said, you had a Casio watch on and some shorts and a t-shirt unbranded, the people that you're trying to sell to might not recognize that you've truly achieved something that they want. Whereas essentially what you're doing is marketing to that person by wearing clothing and portraying your lifestyle in a way that's going to appeal to them. Whereas Charlie Morgan, I'm pretty sure he said in a video, he pays himself 10k a month and he lives on the Palm, and the most expensive thing he spends money on is like his rent, which is like 30k, which he shares with his business partner, and it's a business expense. But that's how locked in he is on his goal. But
and that's the way you need to be. You need to be obsessed. Like, if you don't want to get to the top, like you need to be like singularly focused. To to be fair, like since coming here, which I got lost in the sauce or whatever, but like it's so easy, especially in Dubai, to go out to the beach clubs, the nice restaurants, spend time with your girlfriend the whole day, whatever it is you want to do. And when you do that, like everything you do is either going for you or against you. So that's going against me in terms of business sense. That's time I could be doing on like I'm creating a new product, testing new stores, creating new creatives. So that's time that I've been doing that. And so yeah, it's peaks and flows. I don't actually know where I was going with that either. But
all I was going to say was, as I get older, you know, I turned 28 recently, I realise more and more that that's never time wasted, or time spent on experiences and doing things with loved ones is never time wasted, because I'm very guilty of always just focusing on working and the business, because it brings me fulfillment, it brings me joy. It sounds very sad to say, I'm happy when I'm building, I'm happy when I'm working, like, and I can be in a room on my own and not talk to anyone and still be fine, like, because I know I'm working towards something, and that gives me fulfillment. But I also need to stop sometimes and don't be so focused on the future all the time, and remember to enjoy the present. So if you're taking time away from business, like you said, maybe not monk mode, but you'll be in seasons, which I quite like. You know when you're working towards a certain goal, and then it's almost like, you said it earlier, sprints, right? So you're sprinting, working towards a certain goal, maybe having a little bit of downtime, enjoying some quality time with people that you love or the experiences that you want to do, and then getting back to it. So I don't think that's ever time wasted. I think that's balance. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs fall into the trap of not having balance, always focusing towards growth and growing, which, don't get me wrong, it needs to be done. I understand that. But one thing I would say is just don't forget to enjoy the present. I'm guilty of it, you know, but you're 22 now. In 6 years, when you're my age, you'll be looking back and thinking, I enjoyed all of those moments, all of those things I did, and I still had a successful business. So it's balance in life, you know?
100%. Like you say, a lot of people want to be further ahead, like they live in the future. And that's something that I used to do, still do, to be fair. I need to reflect upon it. But I always say, like, if you aren't where you feel like you should be, just be grateful that how far you've came. And also, if you haven't came a long way, just be grateful that you're alive. And gratitude is massive. Like, obviously, I'm into like the law of attraction and universal laws and all that kind of thing, and obviously the book The Secret. But see, like, the true secret, that is going back to perspective, is just being grateful. Like, if there's a video I've seen on Instagram recently, it was like they asked like 10 American kids what do they want, and it was like £10,000, $10,000, want this, I want that. And then they asked like 10 kids in maybe like a third world country, and then they were like, just want to taste sugar. I just want. So it's like, it's just be grateful for where you are, and when you focus on what you have, you get what you miss what you lack. However, if you focus on what you lack, you miss what you have. And so just be grateful. Like, if I look back to 4 years ago, I was earning £150 a week, and I was literally ripping out toilets covered in shit. Whereas now I'm sitting here making 200k a month revenue, 60k a month profit, living my dream life, and it's a lot's changed, and obviously blessed. I
think, going back to what we said earlier, it's just zoom out a little bit, isn't it? Like, perspective is everything, and I think I may have even said this on the podcast yesterday that I did with my brother, but we're very guilty always of comparing ourselves to people that are further ahead, never behind. And what I mean by that is, because we're always working towards the future, sometimes you forget how far you've come because you're always comparing yourself to the person that's further ahead than you. Not to say that I necessarily will look at someone in an envious way or things like that, but I'll think, damn, like, up here I feel like I'm on his level, but maybe I'm just not there yet. The money hasn't caught up, the inputs aren't quite right, and I know it will come, but I'm always so focused on where I want to be versus how far I've come. I think that's one thing that's really important, is like, zoom out, have perspective, and practice gratitude. Because whenever I actually stop and think, and I'm sat on my balcony looking out into Dubai, I'm like, there's nothing more I actually want in my life.
Yeah, mate, like, you're smashing it. You've already achieved the top. Do you know what I mean? It's madness. Like,
but perspective will have you believe that you're not there yet. It's a very funny thing, but like, yeah, I always have them moments where I'm stood on the balcony. I'm just like, yes, I'm working hard. I know that I'm not at my where I want to be yet, just because I know I can achieve more. But like, if I really look around me, like, there's nothing different that I want.
Yeah, it's because of your proximity. Like, obviously, proximity is power. It's like, so obviously it's like your environment. So not only like your physical environment, where do you stay, it's also like who's your friends, what do you consume online. So if you're obviously consumed a lot of Charlie Morgan, or I've obviously consumed a lot of Hormozy, people who are very successful. That's your comparison. Whereas if I go back home, I'm going back home in 3 days to go see my family, see my mates, and then I'm flying out to Marbella. Like I said, that will obviously be a season there. But if I go back home, like, I'll feel like the man. I'll feel like the richest person ever in terms of that kind of thing. So like you say, I do think it's a lot of depends upon who you surround yourself with, who you see on a daily basis. Because obviously most people know you become the average of the 5 people you hang around with most. And most people know that and understand that, but don't make any differences or any changes. But yeah, it's massive, like who you surround yourself with and who you consume. That's why, even though I'm quite big on social media in terms of like posting and all that, I actually don't consume it like hardly. I'm more of a producer. That's another kind of like nugget, is like on social media, like it's important to be the one on the other end, be the one producing the content, because if you're just on it, you're consuming someone else who is producing, and like you can use it for 2 ways. But yeah, like I'm on it. I'll go on, post my reel or post my story, and I get off, or I go on TikTok. I've already got all my drafts saved. Bang, post, because I don't like to consume other people's stuff, because even I get to that stage, he's got this, he's got that, I want that watch, I want that day date, I want that Richard Mille. It does get like that, but yeah, that's why I do think it's important to be the one like producing and be the one, like don't consume too much content is what I would say. Consume the right content, obviously this podcast and stuff, but to be fair, like on YouTube, I'm on YouTube lots. I've got, since getting here to Dubai, I think I've turned my TV on twice, and that was when my girlfriend turned it on. Before she came, I was on YouTube, and people think YouTube's a waste of time, but I'm not watching The Sidemen, KSI, Logan Paul. I'm watching how to improve X amount, how to improve this, how to improve my CRO, how to get more, everything to do with learning. And that's obviously the small changes that we talk about, that you might spend 12 hours just watching YouTube and what have I done, but like over time, that's how that works, and then you implement it. But yeah, I do think it's important to consume the right stuff, but also implement it.
So if people do want to learn from you, then where's the best place to find you? On YouTube, on Instagram, those kind of platforms? Yeah,
so obviously I've got them all. I've got YouTube, Instagram, but the best place is probably Instagram. Just Mackenzie Haldane on there. Send me a DM.
There we go. So we'll plug in yourself, Mackenzie, for your dropshipping course, but even if people just want to learn more about you and the lifestyle that you're living. And I just want to say it's been a really enjoyable conversation. We kind of went away from e-com and dropshipping and more into just mindset. I think the right mindset you need to win, and I think that can be applied across any business. So drop some gems in this one, I think, for sure. A lot of quotes in there. You have to let me know what books you've been reading.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I say, the tactical stuff does matter, and you know that yourself, but it all starts with the mind, doesn't it? You know that more than anyone. Like, your beliefs dictate your worldviews. So if I came across dropshipping when I was 16 and I didn't believe I was good enough to do it, or I believed it was fake, as most people do, I wouldn't have started it, and I would still be ripping out toilets covered in shit. So yeah, I do think it all stems with the mindset, and like I say, me and you both know that.
100%. Well, Mackenzie, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Theo.